What is up, Rad family? Last week I posted my very first ever short horror film. If you haven't seen it yet, here is a link as well as a link down in the description below. For today's video, I want to show you guys some behind the scenes and what it took to make that video possible, as well as including a few bloopers at the very end. If you like this video, please remember to give it a big thumbs up so that I know you like it and I can continue making more of these behind the scene videos in the future. So let's get to it. So the first thing I want to mention is that the short you saw was not the original concept and actually wasn't the first short we recorded. The scenes you are now seeing are following the first version of the story, and they're completely unedited to show you one of the reasons why I decided to scrap the footage and tweak the idea. We were limited by our equipment. The only camera we have and used for the short is a Canon 60D, and as you can most likely tell, the footage wasn't usable. It had a bunch of noise, no light was being picked up, so the detail was pretty non-existent. Even with the LED light attached above, you had to be within a couple feet of it to look decent. To sum it up, it just visually wasn't living up to what I envisioned in my head. The second reason it was scrapped was because we were limited by the camera. The suspense of the story just wasn't translating on screen. I'd tell you the original concept, but since I still really like the idea, I think I'll keep it under wraps for the future when I can save up and get my hands on the Sony Alpha A7S. Side note, I've been watching so many review videos and test shots with this beast of a camera. I've been drooling over it so much, I put it as our very first fun goal on my Patreon page. Okay, I promise I'll stop before I start sounding like a commercial. So that idea was scrubbed and I went back to the drawing board. Following a similar concept of suspense and vulnerability, I came up with the idea of incorporating a form of social media with the help of a brainstorming session with Kasich and Shaddy. And that's how I decided on basing it on my newfound love, Snapchat. After the first day of filming, during another brainstorming session, Shaddy and Kasich threw out the idea of making the short interactive. With my love of games where the player gets to make choices that determines how the story unfolds, like Until Dawn and Telltale's The Walking Dead, I was totally digging that unique twist. And since so many of you left comments saying you did too, I plan on making the future shorts interactive also. I planned out exactly what I wanted to include in the short before I even picked up the camera. I made a super simplistic storyboard on a dry erase board to have a visual idea on how I wanted the camera to transition between scenes. Hey, I told you it was simplistic. For the actual filming, I used a tripod and positioned the scene myself with a lot of back and forth between acting out the scene and then going to check the footage afterwards on the viewfinder and deciding if I needed to redo the scene. Yeah, I usually redid the scene at least 5 times just to be sure it would look good on the computer. For the shots where I needed a second pair of hands, either for focusing the camera or moving something in the background, my wonderful boyfriend Shaddy was there to capture the scene. Thanks again, Shaddy. After I felt I got all the footage I needed, I moved on to the editing phase. This part was undeniably the most labor-intensive part of making the video. Using Vegas for the rough cut of the footage, I spent over 24 consecutive hours splitting clips and making sure the scenes transitioned the way I wanted them to. Let's just say my eyes and back weren't feeling too hot by the time the rough cut was finished. The second phase of editing was taking the cut footage and making it look overall nicer. The always awesome Kasich was there to help me with this, and by help me, I mean he is such a kind human being. He spent 6 hours finicking with color curves, color correction, canceling out the noise, and a bunch of other fancy stuff that he's an expert at, and I'm grateful for him giving up an afternoon to make this short look cinematic. As you can tell from these clips, it seriously made the world of difference. I'd show you more of the editing process, but unfortunately, all the footage has since been deleted. But to tell you the truth, everything else was very repetitive and would probably just bore you. The very last phase of editing was audio and music. For the audio, I was inspired by a behind-the-scenes video by the wickedly talented YouTube channel Pony Smasher to add it in post. Since I didn't have a separate camera following me around, I don't really have any footage to show this part, besides the horribly unfocused video the camera picked up while I used my Rode shotgun mic to record me mimicking the scenes from the short to capture the audio you would have heard with the footage. By having the mic so close to the source of sound, the audio is much more crisp and gave me more control over the impact, so I could make some sounds more intense in critical scenes. The very last part, the background music, was found with the help of the rad YouTuber Chad Wildclay. I listened to a bunch of different royalty-free background tracks, focusing on ones that sounded eerie and led to a building of a nervous suspense. I narrowed it down to a couple of options. I then inserted them into Vegas to play with the footage until I decided on the one that I felt was the right fit. And that about sums up the critical parts of the making of my very first horror short. From brainstorming ideas to choosing background music, every step was crucial in creating the short film. I'm incredibly happy with how the short turned out, even though it took a few tries and didn't follow my original vision. And I'm forever thankful I have such generous friends that were down to help me with making this dream a reality. So now it's time for the promised bloopers. While a lot of the bloopers are of me just repeating a scene a dozen times till I felt I was satisfied with the take, I found a few others I thought you would find more entertaining to watch. Since you can't see my phone's screen, I had told Shaddy to send me Snapchats in real time so that I could have a more realistic reaction. I had never tried acting before, so I was afraid it would look really forced otherwise. While the moment was supposed to be cloaked in a tense atmosphere, Shaddy kept sending me the most hilarious pictures that I now wish I would have saved so I could show you. But anywho, here are the genuine reactions that ensued because of his Snapchats. Why would you send me that? As always, thank you guys so very much for watching today's video, as well as continuing to watch and support this channel. You all mean the complete universe to me, and I just wanted you guys to know that. And if this is your very first time ever stopping by this channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below to join today and become part of the raddest community on YouTube, the Rad family. Okay, until next time, keep up the radness, and I'll see you real soon. Bye!